Hello and welcome to the October 6th edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. This is episode 221 of the series. I suppose we can call it 220 and a half if we want to, but we're going to call it episode 221 and deal with it. We apologize for last week's issues. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. I know the internet's been being really weird this past week, as all of you are probably aware. The fact that Xfinity lost its power on over the weekend there. They lost it for pretty much the entire day, I believe it was on Saturday. So that was kind of strange. Most up and down the East Coast, especially some problems here in Florida. But up and down the East Coast, there were a lot of problems there. As well as, of course, Facebook with their big outage yesterday, which was, or Monday rather, wasn't it? Which was rather scary. So it was an up and down weird few days here on the internet. And I think that actually our little issue here on last Thursday was the beginning of that. But let's go ahead and resume our show if we can. From the point we left off last week, we were just getting done with Chris Davenport, who was the founder and CEO of AutoPartsForLess.com. Once again, we'd like to thank him for coming on the show and wish he and his company good luck in the future. Hopefully, the broadcast went through okay, and it can now be found at SpeedwayDigest.com or SpeedwayDigest.podbean.com. We have the full interview up online there. Our guest this afternoon, which you might be listening to in the evening, and that if you are, that's great, is Matt Jaskol, NASCAR driver and professional skydiving instructor, who combined both of his passions ahead of NASCAR Xfinity Series Osco Uniforms 302. The Auto Parts for Less racing team member made a historic skydive from a helicopter into Las Vegas Motor Speedway to present Speedway Children's Charities with a donation of $10,000. Then he slid into the number 66 Auto Parts for Less MDM Motorsports Toyota for its first race on his home track and final of the season. We are standing by for Matt to join us here this evening. We did send him information several times, so hopefully he'll be able to come in on the program. He is a member of the Podbean Nation here, so hopefully he'll be able to join us momentarily. Now, what we were doing this afternoon, we had a really busy day here in Speedway Digest world. We've been uploading a lot of different information onto SpeedwayDigest.com. We do have a couple more articles we're going to post there this afternoon. One of them about the breast cancer awareness, which is this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as most of you are already aware. So we'll be posting an article about that. And we also did a little bit of work earlier today for Vorplum's Fantastic Finds, which I'm sure you've heard me publicize an awful lot on this program, especially over the last 100 or so episodes. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more for that. We did a review last week of Enigma Haunt, which opened on Friday night. We were there on Saturday to go ahead and wander through there. It is a great, amazing place, and it's unfortunate that this is their 9th and final season. The building is being sold, redeveloped, and all that. One of those signs of progress. But if you're interested in going down there, please head down to Boca Raton. They are located in Boca Raton. I do not have their address right here, unfortunately, but you can go ahead and go to enigmahaunt.com and check it out there. As I stated, we did do a full review, so you can go to Vorplum's Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com, where Enigma Haunt celebrates their last season. I did that. Was the highlight of the article, so be sure to check that out. It is one of the number one articles on the Vorplum's Fantastic Finds site, so be sure to check that there. This weekend we're going to be heading down the road, basically less than a half hour from the house, to the South Florida Fairgrounds, which is located on Southern Boulevard. So you can be sure to check out Fright Nights at the South Florida Fairgrounds, which opens this Friday. Tomorrow is their behind-the-scenes tour. I invite you to head out there for the behind-the-scenes tour. It's really awesome to check out the stuff behind the scenes there. But I did post a ton of pictures. I believe it's like 71 pictures of the behind-the-scenes tour. Both that can be found on the Facebook page for Vorplum's Fantastic Finds, which of course you go to facebook.com/Vorplum's Fantastic Finds, and that's the easiest way to find that. And you'll be able to check that out there. We did post, as I stated, 71 pictures from inside the haunts, behind both the actors' areas as well as the inside haunt areas. A lot of that you won't really be able to see when you're going through on Saturday. If you're going to go through Friday or Saturday, one of the days when they're open. So be sure to check that out. As I stated, we are currently standing by for Matt to come on the program here, Matt Jaskol. We're hoping to hear from him momentarily. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and send him a message right now. Let's see if we can do that. While we're standing by, Matt Jaskol. Hopefully he is all set. I'm typing it as I write here. Standing by. Review. Show is on the air. Okay, so let's see if he's going to respond to that or not. If he'll be on the air shortly, let's go ahead and hope that he is. Again, I'm standing by here. This is the Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder. We are standing by and waiting for our first guest, our only guest for this afternoon, Matt Jaskol. Hopefully he's able to tune in momentarily. I did just send him a message, as I stated. We are all set and ready for him. Again, we would like to thank our guest for last week. It was Mr. Chris Davenport, the founder and CEO of Auto Parts for Less. The show did start out great last week. It was a very good start off to the show, but within the first 5 minutes or so, it started to get a little worse, and by the end of the interview, it was just totally gone. So that kind of happens. We did get all the questions in. I'm sure that the posting that I put up about the show came out a little better than what I could hear here on this end. So we're currently standing by for Matt Jaskol to call in to the program. Again, he is a member of Podbean, so he should be able to connect rather quickly. Hopefully he understands that this is a 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time show. I did explain that to him last week. I hope that he understands it now. And we are standing by and holding on for a few moments. Normally I would go ahead and play a little bit of musical interlude here, but I don't think that the music is going to work. So let's go ahead and see if we've gotten that.
I think we're here now.
Yep, I hear you now. How are you doing?
Sorry, the link wasn't working at first. Sorry about that.
No problem. Let me go ahead and ask you first off, why is Speedway Children's Charities important to you?
Well, I've known about the charity for, as long as I have been racing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and which goes back to, I was racing at the Speedway before the oval was even built. And so the charity has always been, really prevalent to me. And I've done a lot of stuff around the track, and I've seen the things they've done. I've been a part of, Laps for Charity. And honestly, I've always wished I had purpose to be able to do more for the charity, because I've seen, the amazing things they've done and the money they've raised. And I always thought, gosh, it would be so cool to be able to do something significant. And here was finally my chance after many years.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your highlights of your first year with NBM Motorsports?
Well, I guess, a highlight would be I ended up on top of another car. I don't know if that was it was up high, but maybe a low light, but, still got some good TV coverage. Obviously a highlight would have been starting last and finishing inside the top 20 at Mid-Ohio, no practice, no qualifying, straight to the green flag, so that's, I think that was definitely a highlight. And what else? Probably, racing at Darlington was a big deal to me, but definitely the top 20 finish from last was good.
You mentioned the not going into the racing without qualifying or practice or anything like that. How do you feel about that? Do you think that'll go? I know that's going to continue in somewhat of a degree next season. How do you feel about that going on, continuing forward?
I think it's a mixed bag of emotion. Mixed for me, because it's tough. I see the benefit of how it helps some of the teams and budget. I don't like that format. I think proper racing should have a little bit of practice, qualifying, and then the race. Mm-hmm. I definitely wouldn't mind if it was limited, maybe a few tracks a year, where it makes sense, maybe tracks that they've been to a lot or, something like that. But it's not something I necessarily, it helped us in our program. It was a double-edged sword, right? Because it helped our program save money. If it wasn't for the fact that there was no practice and qualifying, I don't know if we would have been able to do as many races as we did with the budget that we had. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Definitely no practice, no qualifying keeps the budget down. But no, moving forward in the future, I don't believe that's how it should be. I hope there's practice and qualifying in the future.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your partnership with AutoPartsForLess.com?
Well, it's pretty amazing story. I think, it's kind of the life come full circle story, the story that you don't really see or hear that often. Kind of the success story on both sides. So Chris Davenport, the founder of autopartsforless.com, who also founded liftkitsforless.com. I've known Chris for 20 years. I met him here in Las Vegas racing go-karts back when I was just a teenager, like 15 years old, and used to like help him with his go-kart and, work on his equipment for him. We've maintained a friendship over the last 20 years, and I've watched his business grow and watched his successes, and never thought it would lead to any type of racing, NASCAR racing. Just never even thought that would be on his radar or have anything to do. Never, and honest to God, as a friend of mine, it never crossed my mind to even discuss it with him. And kind of out of the blue, like I said, that the phone call that never happens for a driver usually is, he called me up in February and said that he wanted to be in NASCAR. It's what made sense for his brand, and wanted me to drive and help him, with my 30 years experience in motorsports, kind of help guide him into the right direction and to get his feet wet and then go from there.
What's more difficult, jumping out of an airplane, competing on Survivor, or driving a race car?
Well, I didn't compete on Survivor, so it was a show called Castaways on ABC. So okay. I can't tell you what Survivor is like, but I can tell you what I did in the jungle for 42 days. Funny, I thought maybe we were going to ask skydiving or racing, but since you brought in the jungle, yes, living in a jungle without food or shelter for 42 days was by far the most difficult, painful, emotional, but greatest experience of my life. And that above and beyond is more difficult than anything I've ever done in my life.
Growing up, who was your racing idol?
I had a few of them. I was more of an open wheel guy. Obviously, I came up through the karting ranks, and my boss and mentor was Paul Tracy at the time in karting in my early teen years, and was teammates with guys like AJ Allmendinger. So I looked up to Paul Tracy a lot. He wasn't necessarily the same personality that I wanted to be, but I definitely loved watching him. It was entertaining. Tony Stewart, as far as the NASCAR thing, he was somebody I looked up to because he was a driver that could do that always proved he could drive anything. He was in IndyCar and Sprint Car and NASCAR, and that was actually always the path that I wanted to go down. And I actually did do that. I drove IndyCars and won a stock car championship and karting and anything I could put my hands on. I wanted to prove that, hey, it's so difficult as a driver to get in a seat. I just wanted to prove that I don't care what it is, just give me a chance and I'll be able to win races and whatever. So aside from like Michael Schumacher, Tony Stewart was actually somebody I always looked up to.
How did you first get started in skydiving?
I got pushed out of a plane. So how it started, again, it's kind of intricate. Everything in my life's kind of connected, and I wasn't racing full time anymore, which was tough for me. And I was working as the chief instructor at a racing school in Las Vegas, or a racing experience, actually, not even a school per se, called Dream Racing. And one of the owners was a skydiver, helicopter pilot, wingsuiter, base jumper, and it was really, it was something that I couldn't even wrap my head around. And he'd always try to talk me into it, and I was genuinely always scared. I never really wanted to go. I wasn't an adrenaline junkie. I wasn't like, yeah, I can't wait to skydive. He kept talking me into it. I was like, yeah, maybe someday, maybe at some point. And then, I just needed something. I was looking for something in life, maybe to fill the void of racing, since I wasn't racing. And I did my first skydive in 2014, and the rest was kind of history. I went through the schooling the very next day and did a solo jump just a day after, and got my skydiving license within a couple weeks. And I've traveled the world and turned it into a professional side gig ever since.
You mentioned you've had a long and varied racing career. What's your ultimate racing goal?
Ultimate racing goal, I think, if I'm realistic at this point, is to be in a seat full time. That would be the ultimate goal, is just whether it's truck, Xfinity, Cup. I just want a chance to be in a full championship and show what I can do to help develop a team and win races and do what I do best. And the ultimate above all of that would be to compete in the Indy 500, which I don't know if my life will ever be complete unless I get a chance to try to qualify the Indy 500.
Well, we'd like to thank you once again for coming on the show this afternoon. It's great to talk to you, and we're sorry that last week didn't quite work out as planned, but thanks again for coming on today.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Once again, that was Matt Jaskol, who races for the Auto Parts for Less sponsored car, the MDM Motorsports Toyota in the Xfinity Series. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. This past weekend, the SRO America Series competed at Sebring International Raceway. Had the chance to head out there on Friday. There weren't very many people there, which is very unfortunate, but there were a wide variety of cars and drivers there. It was actually a really great race, and I'd highly recommend if you're going to put that on your schedule for 2022. That'd be an awesome race to head out to. As I go into that, I've got a few different racing events that I'm scheduled to attend next season. The first off being, of course, the Rolex 24 at Daytona, which is always a very amazing and interesting event. We're heading up there, I think Friday, I believe, of the race. We're going to be spending the entire weekend there, so that'll be pretty cool to head there. We're probably going to be going to Sebring, both for the Trans Am event as well as the IMSA, the 12 hours. We might try to see the 1,000 miles of Sebring, the race there from the FIA Endurance Championship. But we're not entirely sure about that as of right now. Of course, there's going to be other races they're added into the schedule over time. It's unfortunate that the Supercross has decided not to compete in Orlando next season. We're kind of looking forward to that. It was a really awesome track. It was a great event. And it's unfortunate they're not going to have it next year. I did just post on SpeedwayDigest.com the schedule for Supercross for next season. So be sure to check that out. There's also a bunch of other schedules that were posted recently on there. Once again, we did post the results of the Road to Indy this afternoon. So be sure to check those out on SpeedwayDigest.com. We also posted some information about the FIA Formula E Series, which we're big fans of. And we hope that returns here to South Florida as well at some point in the future. So we're going to go ahead and continue to support them as much as we can. What we did as well is we posted a little bit of information about some of the racing that's taking place this weekend at Virginia International Raceway. Again, that's an awesome track as well. I'd love to head up there at some point. We'd be remiss, of course, we didn't congratulate Bubba Wallace on his victory there on Monday at Talladega. That was, of course, a rain-delayed event, and it ended up being rain-shortened as well. But that was kind of cool to have Bubba Wallace win his first race there at the Talladega Speedway. There were some incidents there in Talladega this weekend, and unfortunately, I don't think if the victory lane celebration had been different, it might have been a little bit embarrassing for NASCAR, and that's really unfortunate. Bubba Wallace is a great driver. He seems to be a great person, and it's absolutely wonderful he won the race there in Talladega. Hopefully, it leads to some more victories in the future. Again, there were some incidents there in Talladega. We're not going to mention them because it was just stupid stuff, and I'm sure that if you're a racing fan, you know what's going on there in Talladega. You know they've had problems in the past, all sorts of different problems. So it's really unfortunate about that. Again, this past weekend, we had a chance to head out to the SRO race at Sebring. We went there on Friday. We were there from 9:30 till about 1:30 when the rain did return, unfortunately. And we don't really like watching races in the rain if we can't help it. We have watched the race there in Daytona in the rain, but a lot of that was really from very good cover. The past race we went to Daytona, of course, it was raining. Everybody remembers that, the truck race there. It was unfortunate. It was really wet. We didn't get the chance to talk to any of our friends there in the sports car paddock. We did see a lot of people there, but we didn't get a chance to chat with anybody we actually know. I did send messages to Dakota Dickerson throughout the day, as well as Robbie Foley. I did not realize that Derek Powell was going to be there, or I would have messaged him as well. But as I stated, there were a lot of racers all over the sports car spectrum over there. Past guests on the show, Ryan Yao was there as well. So kind of cool. Also, we're going to have to say our condolences to John West Townley, who was a person who's been on this program at least once in the past. He had the little incident there where he was shot after going after somebody with a hatchet, apparently. Again, we don't know all the information, but that's just insane. I did post a little bit about that on the Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder Facebook page, so be sure to check that out. Once again, we're very happy that Matty Jaskol was able to join us this afternoon at in this special edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder. Now, you're wondering, some of you, why I did a show on a Wednesday afternoon. Originally, I was going to do it on Tuesday, but Wednesday ended up working out better for me, and this timing I think was okay. But let's go ahead and get into it. The reason why I decided to do it today is because tomorrow is the behind-the-scenes tour for Fright Nights, and I'm kind of hoping that we end up heading out there for the behind-the-scenes tour, although I did get quite the behind-the-scenes tour today as part of Media Day. The behind-the-scenes tour would be something to bring my wife to, and that'd be kind of cool. But again, as I stated, we're going to be heading out there to Fright Nights at the South Florida Fairgrounds on Saturday, and that will be reviewed on For Plum's Fantastic Finds. We're hoping that you go ahead and tune in for that. Be sure to check it out there. It's For Plum's Fantastic Finds. That's FAVORPLUMBS Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com. You can also go to For Plums on Twitter or PB Happening on Twitter is probably the easiest way to find it. And that's where we post the full articles and stuff like that. We might even be sharing some of the photos on there later this afternoon. I'm going to try and share some of the photos on Instagram as well, but since I did take them on my camera and not on my phone, there is a little bit of a jump to be made there. But I'll go ahead and share a couple of them on Instagram anyway, and that you can find on Twitter. So that's kind of cool. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. I'm hoping to get this show posted on there this afternoon as well, but there's no guarantees. It might not go on until tomorrow. You can also check out the show on Facebook by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar, or simply by typing facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. I also invite you to read all the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at speedwaydigest.com. As I stated earlier on the show, I've been having a busy afternoon posting a bunch of stuff on there. I do have at least one more to go out, so be sure to check that out in the racing news section of speedwaydigest.com. Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening and look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing. Have a great week, and thanks again.